Okay, my mom's been asking me to post this video for a long time. The trip she's referring to is Iguazu Falls. If you're interested in going to South America, I highly recommend you check out Iguazu Falls. If you book a South American cruise, chances are that your cruise line can get you to this destination, but it doesn't dock there, so the ship doesn't necessarily go there, but you can make an arrangement with your cruise line for an excursion there. So that's either during the course of your cruise, or you could do it pre-cruise yourself or post-cruise yourself. Or you could do it pre-cruise or post-cruise through the cruise line, and then they'll fly you home. It just depends. If you like to book everything through the ship and you know they're going to take care of everything for you, do it through them. Or if you like to book things independently, go at your own pace, book your own flights, stay at maybe a Airbnb or a different type of accommodation and do things individually as opposed to with a group, then you could go that way. So that's the way we chose. We did it on our own. So I'll be making more videos on that. But for now, I'm going to just focus on the cruise that we did at Iguazu Falls. If you do visit Iguazu Falls, you can visit the Brazilian side or the Argentina side, or both if you want. I will recommend do both if you can, because you get different points of view from depending which country you're in. I have a favorite, but it might not be the most popular. If you go online, people have different opinions on the matter. But what is consistent on both sides is that you could take a cruise up the river or boat trip up the river. Now, we did it from the Argentina side. The boats look the same on either side, like the style of the boat, but the experience we had was great. And the cost is pretty much, when we went, when you convert the currencies, it was all like within the same price range. You could pre-book your tickets, which I would recommend, or if you want to do it, when you get to the park, do first thing in the morning. What happened was when we got there, we had to wait in line to book our tickets. They give you a number and they line you up. And the people behind us, they weren't able to get tickets. We were the last seats that were sold for the entire day. So they gave us a time, you come back at this time. And boy, were the people behind us ever upset, because that was their last day. And so they didn't have the option to do it again. So if you really want to do this, book your ticket in advance. Okay, I'm going to show you the experience and I hope you enjoy it. And what can I say? I think you should do it. I think that anybody who goes there, you really want to do it. We weren't sure if we should book it or not, and I'm really glad we did. Okay, here you go. So a few things to start. We took the boat ride on the Argentina side, and we didn't really do a lot of research into determining which side was different from the other. We had a great time on both sides, but this is the Argentina side. It's in a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's a national park, and it's also a national park on the other side, and also UNESCO World Heritage Site on the other side. So you could see the road that we're going on right now. It's kind of a bumpy dirt road, and it goes on for quite a while. Prior to making the turn onto this road, it was a smoothly paved road. You may have seen a coach bus before we got onto this road. That's the coach bus that takes you from the first entrance of the park to basically the park where you go explore by foot. And that's where you buy the tickets to go on this excursion if you haven't already pre-purchased them. So once you get on this road, you can see it's very bumpy, and really I think this is the only way to get to the boat ramp, so you can't really do this part independently. Some things to be aware of is that they will give you a designated time within the park and a place that you meet. And at that specific part, there's a little place where you can get some refreshments and sit down and wait before they go get your group. Then you go to another area where you line up, and then you kind of climb up into this truck. There were some stairs there for that. The handful of days we were there, it was really hot. It was in the high to mid 30s. I remember it being super hot this day, so if you do have a hat, you might want to bring one. However, you probably have to take it off for the boat ride. You might lose it. For any Americans watching, 36 degrees Celsius is about 97 Fahrenheit. It would have been nice to have the audio on for this part of the journey, but It was actually really windy, so the sound of the wind was so terrible, I had to just take it out completely. So a few things. The park is about 20 kilometers from Porto Iguazu. If you go online, recommendations are to visit between May and October. We went in February and it was hot. Now, February could be the hot and wet season. Well, we enjoyed the weather and we were going down to South America anyway this time of year, so that's why we chose to go. We did it to coincide with our princess cruise on the Sapphire Princess, which was leaving out of Buenos Aires. So our plan was we flew into the Brazilian side, did the Brazilian side for 2-3 days, and then we did the Argentina side for a couple of days. So we flew into Brazil and then we flew out of the Argentina airport. Some of the key activities on the Argentina side is Devil's Throat. When we were there, unfortunately, the walkways were washed out in late 2023 and were not repaired until about July of 2024. And then there are upper and lower circuits that you could do, walking trails. And then, of course, there's the Gran Aventura boat trip, which probably translates to Grand Adventure, which makes a lot of sense. It was really an adventure. You're going to be really impressed by what you see today. So some things about this boat tour. It's about a 2-hour tour. Once we arrive to where the launching point area is, it's about 200 steps down, which that's no problem going down, but coming up, that's probably a bit of a challenge for some people. There are toilets there, change rooms. This was definitely one of the boat rides of my life. If you need to know anything, you're going to get soaked. There's no way around it. You're going to be completely drenched, and so are your belongings, unless you put your belongings in this yellow bag that they give you. So my advice is, if you want to keep anything dry or protected, make sure that you put them in this bag before your boat starts leaving. And make sure that it's sealed or turned properly, because water will get in the bag if you didn't close it properly. Not to worry, on your way back, the boat ride takes probably 10-15 minutes from the last time you get really wet. So by the time you get back to the boat launch, you're practically dry. Everybody wears a life jacket in this boat from the time you leave to the time you return. You'll notice that some of the crew members are making videos during this boat journey, so you could probably buy a DVD or some kind of USB stick with the video on it. We didn't, because I brought my own camera. Some of the sound quality changed during the course of this boat ride because the camera got really wet. So I didn't know the implications of that, but I found out after this video. Anyway, if you do bring a camera, make sure that it is waterproof or water resistant, and if not, maybe have a proper case for it. Another thing is, there was a lot of wind. I did try to edit out the wind noise from the video and tried this over several hours, and it really didn't work. It just ended up making it sound worse, or strange noises. So at the end of the day, I just went back to the original sound. So you'll hear the wind. You're going to hear the waterfalls. You're going to hear a lot of clapping and roaring and screaming and excitement. But all in all, what a great experience. Now, here's some food for thought. We did leave on the Argentina side. So at the beginning of the video, we're traveling up the river. And on the right-hand side is Argentina. The left-hand side is Brazil. Now, normally, people can't just take a boat and go and cross into a different country's territory. So I'm just curious if taking the Argentina boat ride would be better than the Brazilian experience. And the reason is because you will see partway through the video, we go into an area that is clearly on the Argentina side of the border, and I'm not sure if the Brazilian boats would have access to that area. With that being said, we also stopped partway through before we went into the little area, well, I wouldn't call it little, until we went into the Argentina side. There is a massive waterfall, which you don't see in this video. And I'm just curious if that's because the rapids get too tough and it's just not suitable for boats, or if that's clearly just the Brazilian side. If anybody that took the Brazilian boat ride is watching this video and you know the answer to that, please leave a comment. I'd be curious how far up the river the Brazilian side tour goes. Did you know that Iguazu Falls is the world's largest broken waterfall system? It has 275 distinct cascades stretching 2.7 kilometers. 80% of these waterfalls are on the Argentina side. Should we talk about Devil's Throat for a little bit? Devil's Throat is one of the must-sees when you visit Iguazu Falls. The problem is, I don't think that you'll see it in this boat ride. You might see it from really far away, but really to see it right up, it's so magnificent. It's nothing like seeing it in person, and you really can't tell from the boat what's up ahead. Depending on the interest or feedback I get from this video, I may post another video on the Devil's Throat from the Brazilian perspective. Did you know that not very far away from here is Paraguay? It's actually not very far up the river, so they call it a tri-border area. There's Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina. So Iguazu Falls is very accessible from Paraguay depending where you are, but the closest city is Ciudad del Este, and I may have pronounced that poorly. On the Argentina and Paraguay sides, you're going to get Spanish as a predominant language. On the Brazilian side, it's Portuguese. That being said, I had no problem communicating with people in touristy areas in the English language. There are some other languages commonly spoken around this area. There are a lot of German-speaking people, Italian, Arabic, and then there are some local languages. For example, in Paraguay, they have the Guarani language. Going through the Atlantic rainforest right now, one of the things you could do here is bird watching. It's definitely a biodiverse area. I like the vegetation. It was really interesting flying into Iguazu Falls. We flew in, as I mentioned, on the Brazilian side, and it was almost like we were flying into a sea of broccoli. The area was so green. I've never seen a place quite like it when we were landing. Since this is a cruising channel, I'm gonna tie in how does cruising relate to this activity. Well, this is a boat cruise, but let's tie it into a cruise ship cruise. Cruise ship cruises that go to Brazil and Argentina may depart out of different ports. One of the embarkation ports that I was first aware of that had to do with this trip was actually leaving out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And so that was a southbound one-way cruise from Fort Lauderdale to Rio de Janeiro. Now, what happens in Rio is that you could leave Rio de Janeiro on your own or with the ship and fly here. That's a whole separate trip. And by the way, it's not nearby, so it's not like something you would drive to. Similarly, there may be a northbound cruise from Rio de Janeiro back to Florida. Those may happen once or twice a year. If you're booked on one of those cruises, I would suggest that you fly in and out of the Brazilian side. The reason why is because it's going to be a domestic flight from Rio de Janeiro. Some of the mass market cruise lines that do such an itinerary could be Princess, Holland America, and Celebrity. MSC also has cruises in this area, and then they have different embarkation points. So you might be able to get on in Rio, Buzios, Maceió, or Salvador. I've been seeing a lot of South American cruises start or finish in Buenos Aires, which is in Argentina. In that case, if you're doing a cruise that starts or ends in Buenos Aires, I would recommend that you fly into or out of the Argentina side, again for the same reasons. When we were visiting, there was not really any direct flight from the Brazilian side of Iguazu Falls to Buenos Aires. It was possible, but you would have to do a connection, probably in Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo, before you moved on to Buenos Aires. We're still not at the dock, so I'm going to talk about what kind of cruises can you take out of Buenos Aires. There are different ones. One of my favorite is the trip to Antarctica. So you could do this by a cruise ship. So either the cruise ship's going to leave out of Buenos Aires, or they may charter a flight to Ushuaia, Argentina, or Port Williams, Chile. There are a couple other cruises I've seen out of Buenos Aires. One is like a 9 to 14 day round trip where you'll call on ports in Argentina, possibly Uruguay, maybe the Falkland Islands, a little bit of Chile, and then it'll be a round trip. The other one is a 14 to 17 day one-way Buenos Aires to San Antonio, Chile. And again, it will be a similar itinerary with the Falkland Islands, a little bit of Argentina, a little bit of Uruguay, the Chilean fjords. If you're really lucky, you might be just stopping there as a port of call on a grand voyage on one of Princess's or Holland America's grand voyages or whatever they're calling it. And those are when they're doing large cruises, maybe a 49 to 56 day cruise where they're circumnavigating South America. They'll leave out of Fort Lauderdale and finish in Los Angeles. How are you enjoying your truck ride to the boat ramp? Are you enjoying this? What do you think? Let me know. 248. What's that all about? Well, 2. Argentina is the second largest country in South America. First is Brazil. 4. Argentina is the 4th largest country in the Americas. Canada's number 1 in size, then US, then Brazil, then Argentina. And number 8. Well, according to Wikipedia, Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world by size. But according to Encyclopedia Britannica, it's number 9. So who knows? It's kind of like, is Argentina larger or is it Kazakhstan? Something to be aware of is there is an entry fee to see Iguazu Falls, whether you're on the Brazilian side or the Argentina side. It's not just there to show up. You can't just go walk to it. There's usually a shuttle bus of some sort that would take you from the entrance gate to where you go and get out and walk around. One of the questions is, can you do this all in a day? You certainly can, but it would be a really long day and it would be very exhausting. But if that's all the time you have, I'd say go for it. I'd probably just pick one country to visit if I was doing it in a day, because there is quite a lot of time you're going to be spending transporting around and crossing the border. That really chews into your time. Should we talk a little bit about the geography of Argentina? Countries that border Argentina include Brazil, which is right across the river, Paraguay, Bolivia, Uruguay, and Chile. We're in the north right now, which is a tropical area. If you head south of the Atlantic Forest, you'll hit the Pampas area of Argentina. The Pampas is an agricultural area. They have a lot of cattle ranch farming. You might be able to visit an estacion and they'll put on a barbecue lunch for you. Nearby is the largest city in Argentina, Buenos Aires. The people there are called porteños because they're named after the port. If you keep heading south, you'll hit Puerto Madryn. That's a World UNESCO Heritage Site, and it's a premier spot for things like diving, whale watching, going to see penguins. And then, of course, you have the whole southern area of Argentina, which is Patagonia. Patagonia is shared with Chile. Central or in the northwest of Argentina, you're going to get dramatic landscapes, everything from the Andes Mountains to lush valleys, vineyards, deserts, all kinds of places. Sign says you cannot go if you have any sensory disabilities or if you require a dog. You can't go if you have any visceral disabilities, including type 1 diabetes, broken leg, sore knee, sore back, those types of things. Any people with motor disabilities. Pregnant women and children under 12 are also not allowed. Okay, we're finally here. We've walked down our 200 stairs. We got our yellow bag to put our things in to keep them dry. We're going to grab a life jacket, hop on board. I hope you like this tour, and sorry about the noise in the background, but my computer's running really hot.
glacier